did St Dominic really receive the Rosary from the Mother of God? In 1119, under the pontificate of Innocent III, there was an error, or a heresy if you like, which is an error of thinking, which was taught by the Albigensians. And now the Albigensians believed that there were basically two gods. They had the good God of light, which they usually refer to as Jesus in the New Testament, and they had the evil God, which they believed to be of the Old Testament and also Satan. Now, they also believed that the body itself was evil. It was a creation of Satan, and that the soul was good. So what do you think they would have encouraged during this particular time? They would have encouraged people to suicide in order to release the actual soul, or even to basically stop having children, and even anti-marriage. So this is the real dilemma that St Dominic himself faced during this time in order to try to fight this particular error of thinking. And his concern was to bring them back to the church, to the proper way. And so St Dominic decided to take a walk and ponder on this. How am I going to do this? And so he went into the actual bush over in Toulouse in France to contemplate. And through much prayer and hard labour from St Dominic for a total of 10 years trying to get these people back, he didn't succeed until Our Lady, the Queen of Heaven, appeared to him and spoke to him, and she said to him, "Dear Dominic, do you know which weapon the Blessed Trinity wants you to use to reform the world?" "Oh, my lady," answered St Dominic, "you know far better than I do, because next to your Son Jesus Christ, you have always been the chief instrument of our salvation." Then did Our Lady instruct him by saying, quote, "I want you to know that in this warfare, the battering ram has always been the angelic Psalter, which is the foundation of the New Testament. Therefore, if you wish to reach these hardened souls and win them over to God, please pray the Psalter." Actually, Our Lady didn't say please, but she said, "Pray the Psalter." Our Lady also instructed him that how the Rosary was to be prayed, and therefore given in St Dominic the Rosary as we basically know it today. The 150 Hail Marys were to be divided by Our Fathers, grouping them into 10. So 10 Hail Marys, Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, Our Father. As each decade is said, one of the 15 principal mysteries of the life of Jesus and Mary was to be the subject of the meditation. Now we do have 20 mysteries, which St Pope John Paul II added, the Luminous Mysteries. Our Lady was explicit about this later on to Blessed Alain de la Roche when she said to him, when people say 150 angelic salutations, "Hail Mary, full of grace," this prayer is very helpful to them and is very pleasing tribute to me. But they will do better still and will please even more if they say these salutations while meditating on the life, death and passion of Jesus Christ. So this particular prayer is not only just the vocal of Hail Marys and Our Fathers, it is a meditation prayer, as the meditations would be and the repeated prayers that would be on the Psalms themselves. So taking on this particular prayer, St Dominic was able to succeed. So by the time of St Dominic's death in 1221, the Albigensian threat was all but ended. What a great achievement from St Dominic. So here you have proof that the Rosary is powerful, is very powerful. I would like to also recommend a book by St Alphonsus de Liguori called The Glories of Mary. It's quite a thick book, but it contains a lot of evidence of people who were devoted to the Rosary, whether explicitly or implicitly. Another in the 15th century was raised by heaven to fight the trials of the world in the Blessed Alain de la Roche, who was a Dominican priest, so following off from St Dominic of Dinan in Brittany. On this occasion, he was saying Mass, and Jesus spoke to him from the sacred host, saying, quote, "You are crucifying me again now, because you have all the learning and understanding that you need to preach my mother's rosary, and you are not doing so. If you only did this, you could teach many souls the right path and lead them away from sin. But you are not doing it, and so you are guilty of all the sins that they do commit. So you can imagine that this actually terrified Blessed Alan, and therefore he began to teach the rosary. So he had all the eloquence, he had all the knowledge and all the preaching, but our Lord wanted him to be more active in prayer and to use Our Lady. So by the time of his death in 1475, he had enrolled over 100,000 people in the confraternity of the Rosary. Wow, what a mean feat that is. The claim that St Dominic was actually responsible through the vision of Our Lady is supported by a number of popes throughout the years who are much closer to the time of the 13th century, and they include St Pius V in 1569, who wrote that St Dominic invented and then propagated in the entire Holy Roman Church a mode of prayer which called the Rosary, or the Psalter of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which consists in honouring the Blessed Virgin by the recitation of 150 Ave Marias, in confraternity with the number of David's Psalms, adding to each decade of the Aves the Lord's Prayer, and the meditation of the mysteries of the life of our Lord Jesus Christ. Pope Gregory XIII in 1573, he also spoke about St Dominic and recalls that the Holy Rosary, in order to defeat and deflect God's wrath and obtain the help of the Blessed Virgin, instituted this practice so pious that is called the Rosary or Mary's Psalter. On March 26 in 1726, Benedict XIII made obligatory the lessons of the Roman Breviary for the Matins of the feast of October 7. Other sovereign pontiffs, including Leo X, Pius V, Gregory XIII, and Sixtus V, and Clement VIII, and Alexander VII, and Innocent XI, and Clement XI, and Innocent XIII, and also Benedict XIII, and of still others, all unanimous in their attributing that St Dominic instituted the Rosary. Wow, so the Rosary has a wonderful history going back to the 13th century through St Dominic, and the praying on beads even goes back earlier to that in the early church.